So we have Devin Jones, the director of the Mendocino County Farm Bureau on, and I would also like to mention that I'm here at the Community Foundation, and we have the executive director and president of the Community Foundation, Megan Barber Allende, who might want to give a couple comments as we wrap up the community reports following the Farm Bureau.
Well,
So
thank you,
Devin.
Jeff. This is Devin with the Farm Bureau. And I would say, like everybody else's previous statements, this year has been a bit of a challenge, but also a bit of an opportunity concurrently. So, I would say that the biggest issues that we've had this year are, one, sort of reformatting a lot of our required mandates for labor law compliance and trainings to get to a Zoom format that's been workable in some areas and not workable in others. There are certain things that you really can't do remotely, and unfortunately we weren't seeing any sort of workarounds in terms of dealing with the regulatory mandates. So for example, CPR and first aid, that's something you can't do online. So we worked to set up additional spacing here at our office with tenting outside in order to put on some of those types of compliance trainings this year. And the other issue with that is, when we do a Zoom training, there is a mandate for participation by the employees or employers. So if an employer doesn't really have a situation or a setting with appropriate AV equipment, that's proven to be a bit of a challenge also. Each individual employee sort of having to be able to have access to the proper video and sound systems hasn't made it easy, but we've got through some of that. Obviously, the other issue, we haven't seen as much work from home based on the fact that, farming and ranching is not something that you can do remotely. So in terms of keeping up to speed and up to date on, again, a lot of the regulatory frameworks that have come forward, it's required a lot more webinars, a lot more updated requirements to keep up to speed on what you are going to be needing to do for employee safety mandates. So that's been a big challenge this year for us. There have been several programs, and I don't know, this is a question, for the Broadband Alliance in terms of, in the past, I've discussed some of the USDA programs that have come through, and my understanding is those aren't always workable. But there was some chunks of money that came through the CARES Act and other pilot types of programs through USDA Rural Utility Services. A lot of that was sort of covering distance learning, telemedicine, and sort of broadband overall. So I don't know if any of those programs were something that were considered. All those application deadlines have passed. But, for sure, if there looks like there's viability with any of those types of grant programs, Farm Bureau could be a partner in those per se for the Broadband Alliance to move forward with those. Just, let us know sort of what you're requiring and if you need any additional information.
Thank you, Devin. Any questions? And so I didn't mean to put Megan on the spot, but if she would like to say a few words, it seems like an appropriate time. And I'm thankful for, the floor is yours.
Well, mainly I was just going to thank you, Jeff, for your excellent work this past year. The Community Foundation invested money from our Broadband Alliance Fund, or I think it's just called the Broadband Fund, in order to hire Jeff and really put him, engaged in this effort beyond sort of, I think, kind of where we were a year ago. He's been diligent in his work, very committed, very consistent. And it really feels like we made some strides this year, and I just want to commend him for that and just let you know how much I've enjoyed working with him in this capacity. And we're quite hopeful that there is going to be an investment from the County of Mendocino in the Broadband Alliance and specifically allow us to continue this relationship with Jeff and more importantly, expand on it, I hope. Fingers crossed, we're told it's coming. I haven't seen it, but we're hopeful. And if that happens, you know, that we can really do more next year than what we did this year. But again, I'm really grateful to the private donors that made that money available and to the support I received from the current chair, the former chairs, both Jim Moorhead and Katie Gibbs, who are on this call to really go ahead with, you know, investing those dollars in this way. And it just feels really good to be sitting here and feel like progress has absolutely been made, and enjoyed hearing about all the things that Jeff's been touching this year. So those are my comments. Did you think or want me to say something different? I know Kathy is really the chair and represents the foundation extremely well.
I agree with everything you said and appreciate the comments. Thank you, Megan. So I will bring back up the agenda, and I guess if anyone, before we move on to Tom West and North Bay North Coast Broadband Consortium's 3 items, actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. Any other community partner reports or comments on that vein before we move on to just some quick alliance business?
Yep.
Hearing none. The
Jeff.
Quarterly meetings, I'm sorry, Katie, please. Go right ahead. You might be on mute.
Sorry. Can you hear now?
Yes.
Oh, I wanted to ask Michelle, and you forgot to ask her if there are any questions after her. I would like to know what kind of an estimate she has of the number of children who are not properly served by broadband across the county, or in any specific area, if she has any statistics on that.
Well, our rural schools really struggle. Obviously, the North Coast, Covelo, Leggett, Laytonville, all have, you know, little internet cafes where they're bringing kids onto campus. The majority of their kids actually are in the North Country, are coming onto North County, are coming onto campus to access broadband. South Coast as well, significant issues with broadband. The Ukiah area is a little stronger. The Willits area and Fort Bragg all are a little bit stronger with their broadband, but even areas with broadband, we still have significant connectivity issues where teachers will have their classes online and every 5 minutes have 1 or 2 students that are having connectivity issues. And so it's a big distraction in how they present and give information. So I don't have actual numbers, but just in hearing sort of the stories that we're getting, I would say at least 50% of our students in our county are struggling in terms of connectivity.
Well, thank you. That's what I thought I had heard, but I don't want to repeat it if I wanted to check on that. I've heard it from teachers who have that.
We are starting to ask the districts to collect data on who has good connectivity at home as a field in their student information system. Whether we're asking them to comply, it's not a requirement. So whether school districts follow through, we're just starting to ask them to collect that information.
Michelle, Jim Moorhead, are the political leaders beyond the county aware of these numbers, even if they're a bit anecdotal? To me, that's a real headline that you're stating there, that your estimate is 50% of the students in the county are having connectivity, either lack of broadband or existing broadband connectivity issues. That Huffman and Mike McGuire and Jim Wood should
I
be
would
made
say
aware
Mike
of.
McGuire is my biggest conduit. Mike McGuire is setting up meetings with Humboldt County and Mendocino County superintendents of schools and California Department of Education and California Department of Public Health. And in those forums, I have been extremely loud and clear about the issues that we have in our county. That has prompted actually a few other connections for me at the state Senate level. I've been able to speak to the state Senate about connectivity and how it affects our students in Mendocino County. My concern, however, is that they're going to continue to suspend testing so that it's going to be difficult to really show the true learning loss that this year has experienced in terms of just the way the state collects its data. We have lots of formative assessment data that we can show that, but the state summative assessments, I fear, are going to again be suspended.
Thank you.
I can, this is Mary Bishop, just wanted to say, representing the south coast of Mendocino and extreme north end of Sonoma County, 4 school districts and 6 schools. We're just, as of last week, fielded a survey of all the households with school-aged children, and the results are starting to come back. It looks like somewhere between, I think the 50% estimate is going to hold true for this part of Mendocino County, the coast.
Yeah, I just really appreciate, Mary, the work you're doing down there. It's very valuable, and thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional questions before we move on to the next topic?